Weeks after he said he will step back from politics to focus on his businesses, Elon Musk is back in the fray, again publicly bashing this Republican mega bill. In a social media post yesterday, Musk wrote, "It is obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party," he writes. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. Musk followed up with another post calling for the creation of the America Party if the, quote, insane spending bill passes. Musk then continued his online rant, writing any lawmaker who votes for the mega bill, quote, should hang their head in shame. He threatened to primary those politicians next year, quote, if it is the last thing I do on this earth. President Trump, as you can imagine, responded overnight on social media, writing in part, Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good, hard look at this. Big money to be saved, writes the President of the United States in a post overnight, Ali Vitale. So Elon Musk has expressed, Ali, his dismay about this bill previously, then walked back a little bit from his personal criticism of Donald Trump, but now kind of getting back to the policy on the debt and the deficit. Obviously, he has invested interest in this bill not passing. Does this matter at all? Does pressure from Elon Musk matter if he says he's going to primary anyone who votes for it?
So when there was the initial explosion of the personal relationship between Musk and Trump, there was the entertainment factor of watching these two men go back and forth on social media. But then there was also the more tangible threat of what will Musk do with his money? The power of the Musk purse was so tangible and palpable in the early weeks of the Trump administration. You'll remember during the confirmation battles, many of the members on Capitol Hill were quietly whispering about the fact that Musk was saying that they would primary people who weren't marching in lockstep with the president's agenda. So, Michael, now here we are with members saying that, with Musk saying, if you actually vote for this bill, I'm going to potentially fund primaries against you. And I think it puts these Republican members in exactly the same dynamic that they were in when Musk was actually on Trump's team. They're getting squeezed now in a different way, but Musk's money was always the central energizing factor for their actions. The question is, what happens when the money comes in contrast with the Trump of it all?
Right. And you know, what's interesting about Musk's lobbying right now is he seems to be targeting people intentionally. We spoke about this earlier. He specifically went after the House Freedom Caucus yesterday, saying, how could you call yourself the Freedom Caucus if you're going to support a bill that would add trillions of dollars to the deficit? He knows all and well that the Freedom Caucus includes members who really hate this bill, but are grappling with the fact of, well, can I oppose it and agree with what I want to do policy-wise, but politically, that'll get me in a lot of hot water with President Trump. So it's interesting because the Trump-Musk factor is kind of playing in with the policy, the legislation as well. And you also have that then threat of the primary. What folks may be considering is, well, fine, you know, I know that I may not want to get the wrath of a Musk primary challenge. Yes, he has money, but there's a lot of questions about the candidates he backs, whether or not they could actually win, right, recruitment. But at the end of the day, it's also the ire of Trump, which is going to outweigh Musk, I think, in a lot of ways. But it's interesting who he's targeting because he's sort of, he's getting the people who are on the fence, but will they take the bait? I'm not sure.
And, Sam, you had Elon Musk saying yesterday he's going to support Congressman Thomas Massey's reelection bid, the Republican from Kentucky, because he voted against the bill in the House, trying to perhaps symbolic, suggesting I will support candidates who vote against this. But the same question to you. Does this pressure from Elon Musk on members matter at this point, or is their loyalty to Donald Trump more important to them?
I'm kind of surprised by how little it seems to matter at this point, right? Like, he's the world's richest man. He could fund to a huge degree primary challenges or general election campaigns. He also was the Republican Party's biggest donor. And then for a while, he was the most important aide in the White House. And yet in a matter of weeks, he's gone from someone who's just sort of lobbing Twitter criticisms and making threats that people are largely ignoring. So maybe on the margins, like sure, Tom Matzey will gladly take the help. Maybe there are a few fiscal conservatives who might think, well, I can walk this plank perhaps if Elon's with me. But I think a more effective way, honestly, would be if Elon Musk would just say to some centrist independents, primary some House moderate, like that would go further. Of course, hanging over all this is what Trump threatened, which is that Elon Musk has huge amounts of business with the federal government that are just hanging out there. I mean, just yesterday, I think SpaceX scored it was announced that SpaceX scored an $81.6 million contract to launch U.S. military weather monitoring balloons. I mean, that's a huge amount of money. And we know that Trump's pretty vindictive. So we're in a weird place, but I do ultimately think Trumpism is more important to Republicans than Elon's money.
Yeah, for their political survival. Certainly. All right, Sam, we're going to let you and Ali patch things up as we go to break here. Meanwhile, congressional reporter for The Hill, Michael Schnell. Michael, thanks so much.